we talk about several things when it comes to LinkedIn. And the first thing that is mentioned on this slide is the About Me section. Now, it's completely up to you whether you want to have a sentence or a one-liner or have a couple of paragraphs. But the main thing here to understand is this is like LinkedIn is the place where you can really express yourself. Express in the sense that you can give an introduction about yourself, who you are, what you like to do, and what are your main strengths, where do they lie in. So if you are, for example, coders, and if you are looking to change your career from maybe finance or accounting or lawyer, from a law career, or from something else, from the service sector, then you need to put that into the LinkedIn section. Why do you need to put it? Well, for first reason, it will help you gain some talking points when you attend interviews. And it will be a good introduction that, okay, this is the main reason I want to switch my career to software engineering, because I love to make projects and solve new things, or I believe the industry is going towards software development. So in all of these examples that you see here, they are very personal to themselves, right? So Katrina on the left-hand side, she says, I caught fire coding, right? So it's like, wow, it's obviously a one-liner, but then she goes to explain what she wanted to be, but how her career transitioned from a copywriter, for instance, to a coder. Same with Daniel, but with Daniel it was more like if you wanted to code from a very young age, then you express that on your LinkedIn. With Aliza, it's a bit different. She's in the product and marketing, but with all these things, they tell you the strengths, they tell you the main motivation, what really got them into coding, and of course, things about themselves and what they like to do outside of work. These are the main different things that I want you guys to implement if you haven't implemented onto your LinkedIn profile, because I want your LinkedIn profile to stand out. Right, it's very easy to just have a couple of sentences and just list like, oh, these are my strengths, and this is my GitHub link. But I want you to take that extra level or extra step and actually express about yourself, like who you are, what do you like to do, why did you choose coding, and so on. So that's at least my 2 bits on the LinkedIn About Me section. But Mona, maybe if you can go to the next slide, we can discuss a few other things that are important when it comes to the LinkedIn profile. These are skills and endorsements for you guys. Skills particularly would be very important. Now, there's a couple of reasons why skills are very, very important to your profiling. Is firstly because headhunters and recruiters, they use LinkedIn recruiter platform to shortlist candidates. So from full stack to front end to back end to DevOps engineer to AWS experts. So they will be looking at certain skills that you have listed. And the funny thing about LinkedIn is the more you update your LinkedIn summary and your LinkedIn title, the fresher, the more in recent of top searches you will actually see on the recruiter's profile. It's really funny. If you look at from that perspective, but it is so important to list all the technical skills that either you'll be learning, that you've learned, or you are in the phase of learning. So of course, things like CSS and HTML are basics, the fundamentals, but I want you to go and write technical skills like JavaScript or OOP or React or Node.js or Express.js. I know for the newer cohort, you haven't touched upon the front end, you touched upon the backend module at all, and even the front end is something new, but you can start adding those skills slowly so that it will encourage you to learn them during the entire process. Endorse each other, of course you connect with each other, but endorse without asking, it's a nice gesture, and we always motivate each other to endorse you guys, or endorse particular skills that are seen in your own profile. And ask your friend, of course, to endorse each other's skills. It's always a win-win situation when you're endorsing each other's skills. Ona, if you can go to the next slide, that would be nice. In this case, it's not stalking, it's about expanding your network. This is a nice meme that Ona selected. I stalk everyone. So I'll give you an example. I know that sounds weird. I know it came out of stalk everyone, but yesterday we had a webinar and I was doing it for a university, and I got the opportunity to speak to 500 people, and they asked me to share my LinkedIn, and I shared it, and there was like 100 new connections that I got in like less than 10 minutes. So I was very curious, like, who are these people? I want to just see what's their background and stuff. So of course you go on their LinkedIn profiles and see, okay, this guy is IT. This person has a woman has a marketing background, and so and so. So it's very interesting just to see, and also it doesn't hurt to send a message to them that, hey, I came across your webinar from this and this, and it was nice, or maybe these points you could have added more, and I just wanted to say hello and network. So that's always a nice gesture to send a message, send a note with these LinkedIn connections. I want to show my own LinkedIn profile, maybe spend about 5 minutes. Ona, do you think we have time with the slides?
Yes, we do. We do.
Okay.
5 minutes, definitely. And if I can add about this slide, I think we are here talking about building your LinkedIn profile and making it even better. When you start networking actively, or maybe you're even doing that already, it's very important that you have your profile telling what you are doing, what you are looking for, what are your skills, and so on. So you have everything in a way right in your profile. So when people see that you maybe visited their profile and you connected with them, they get the idea. Like, if they don't know you, they know what you're doing at least. We'll move on to how to construct a tech resume. We obviously in the morning already heard Reija's points of view. From Reija's point of view, what should be in a CV, and all very good points, and a lot of same things that we have here as well. But I think well, you might be wondering now, is that okay, I have a LinkedIn profile that has many of the same components as a CV, so why have these both? And there's a reason, obviously, because LinkedIn is a social media and CV is something you use only to apply for jobs, basically. But there's still a lot more. And if you have any thoughts, please share with all of us. Always nice to have a bit of a discussion.
So how to construct a tech resume for you guys, it's really important. We're not going to give any like feedback how to do a graphic design resume or how to do a HR resume. Those things are not necessarily important. So we want to keep it quite focused to a tech resume. How do developers' resume look like, and how shall we improve from there? So Ona, if you can start sharing the next slide. As a lot of things that Reija, our HR and people lead, mentioned in the morning, that a resume is, after all, it's a piece of paper where you have put all your past experiences and some of your professional summary and your skills as well. And that's the only thing that a recruiter bases your skill levels and the knowledge from, right? So to be honest, it's not very nice because you are putting in everything. It's more like a lottery. You're putting in everything into that resume, and then you might get selected or you might not get selected for any particular positions or for interviews. So in this particular section of the career day, we will talk about how can you make your tech resume stand out, what are the key elements that go into writing a resume, and also you remembering that resume is only one thing. There has to be, if you want to be a smart job application individual, you want to be a smart job seeker, then you can't only apply online. You have to use other strategies. But we also acknowledge that recruiters do read resumes, and applications are a thing. So we will work very closely with each and every one of you in the Integrify journey to improve your resume, to make sure that you do get interviews. So the three main bullet points here are showcasing your professional brand. Who are you? Highlighting your strengths through relevant working experience, and communicating, depending on which role and industry it is, communicating why you would fit the role best by using certain keywords. So we can go on to the next section, which explains a bit more, summarizes the contents of your CV. And the key sort of elements here are, contact information. What I still see missing from some of, even from some other students as well in the past, they miss their LinkedIn or their GitHub details on their resume. Both of which are really, really important, especially as developers. Don't overlook on putting your GitHub or your LinkedIn. Recruiters or hiring managers, they might not even open your resume if you don't have a LinkedIn profile, or if you don't have a GitHub profile, because those sort of things define your brand. Second thing is technical skills. So you don't want to be missing out on listings technical skills unless you've already had 10 years of working experience as a software developer. Then it's not as important to write some technical skills down, but technical skills for junior entry level positions will be really important. So we will go into a couple of these, but these basically involve front end skills, back end skills, some DevOps skills, a few database management skills for data experts, and so on. Key projects, very, very important, especially if you're coming from a non-IT, non-tech background. You really want to show what projects you've created. Don't worry, for the new batch who has started, you will be making projects which you will add to your resume. But they are incredibly important, because recruiters will, like, that's the only, kind of like the meat part. Sorry, vegan people, but that's the kind of only meat part for that will go on your resume, and you will see. But key projects really define your credibility of making really good projects. Work experience, yes, it's okay to not to put non-relevant working experience, because most of you will be making a career change from a different background. So things that we talk about are transferable skills, leadership skills, communication skills that will still be valued in developer roles as well. Then the last thing is education. Personally, I don't think education is really that important, unless you graduate from Cambridge or Oxford University. I don't think it was really valued. But I also know that Nordic countries are quite specific to education, and they need sometimes even a bachelor's degree, which they use to prioritize some other candidates. But to be very, very frank, you will get a lot of opportunities even if you don't have an educational background in IT or computer science. Nice.
Can I just quickly add about the education, that it can also be certificates or courses you did. So it doesn't have to be university degree. Can be anything that brings value to your profile.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can go to the next slide. Well, some of these things are just more statistics from, these statistics are actually taken from an American, credible career coach who has helped millions of his clients in the US and Canada, some also international. So don't necessarily confuse these for Europe, because Europe has a different overview. But in Europe, we just don't have, like, well, in terms of career coach, there's not a career coach that stands out for Europe, in my opinion. I haven't seen like a really, really famous career coach. But anyway, most of these statistics do still make sense for Europe. So first point is an average interviewer spending 6 seconds scanning your resume. Yes, true. I have also done that when I was recruiting, and if I didn't find that person's resume relevant or credible or just not worth reading, I would skip it. I would reject that person. Very simple. I know recruiters, yes, they have lots of work to do. They have to close a lot of open positions for their companies. So unfortunately, even though they value each candidate's experience from the beginning to the end of the recruitment journey, they can't make it as positive as they want it to be, just because they have so many things to do. But that's a context to you guys when you apply as job seekers. Then the second thing is a bit funny. I have sometimes done it as a recruiter. Maybe Raya has also done it. I need to have a chat with her. But it's possible that the majority of interviewers, they don't look at your resume until you walk into the room, or you have your Zoom video or Google Meets open. It might happen, and just because we are really quick to read your resume within that 6 seconds, we feel like, wow, we may not be wanting to read it because you have already stood out, or we already scheduled an interview based on some other things. So this might happen. With LinkedIn, yes, a higher chance of hearing back, because LinkedIn corroborates a lot of information that goes on your resume. So we want to make sure that you do have a nice, LinkedIn social profile. Unprofessional email address is something that is happening less and less now, which is I'm glad to say that, at least from a career coach perspective. So keep the email to something professional, and not something childish or naive, which you may have done 5 or 10 years ago. So just to make sure that that you don't get discarded for an opportunity or through an interview process. The photo part is a bit controversial. So when I came to Integrify almost a year ago, I did not like photos on a resume, because I thought it gives a lot of bias, right? So if I see a person that I necessarily might not have a good experience with, or if if there's someone that I see and it might just bring some negative bias, I may not like that person, right? And that's unfair for that person, for that candidate, because of me, because of the recruiter's bias. So I'm saying that that may not happen as often now, but there's so many studies done within Finland and Nordic countries, where people have had biases against certain ethnic groups or certain minorities. So with photos, what I would recommend as a career coach is, if you do take a photo, take a professional one where you're smiling, where it's the best photo that you've taken. Ideally not a passport like photo, because in a passport you're looking pretty sad, to be honest. So you want to look a bit cheerful and show that it's a professional photo where you're smiling and you're giving good vibes to the company. Otherwise, don't put a photo. You would have high chances of actually getting rejected, because trust me, I've worked with CTOs and higher levels executives. The first thing that our eyes go to is towards the photo, and if we don't like you, then it's hard for us to take you in. Typos, try not to put, or try to proofread. Give your CVs to your professors, your friends. Of course, can give a second opinion about your CVs, but ideally industry experts, people working in the industry, people who are having hiring capabilities, so they can check your resume. And for you guys, of course, there is me, Ona, Dori, also can give feedback to your resumes. And then the last thing is the ATS. So typically 75% of resumes, they miss out on reaching sort of like a green or like a green tick of being screened to the next round. So what it really means is keywords are important, and we can show depending on how much time we have today, but there are a couple of really cool online tools that sort of optimize your resume, and that get you sort of more stood out for a particular job process. So things like having React, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, these are just the front end, back end, Node.js, Express.js. You guys being comfortable with these, but putting them in your resume, making sure they're there, they will help you optimize your resume. So just some things to take note of from seeing a CV from a recruiter's perspective, more on a statistical level. Yeah, reinforcement of a couple of mistakes that may happen. So mistake number one is typos. We discussed you can eliminate it by using some online tools, as Ona mentioned in the chat. So Grammarly. Mistake two, summaries. So I know Raya said that she puts a summary of herself and she likes to put a couple of sentences. I use a very different approach. Maybe Ona also uses a slightly different approach, but I prefer bullet points, even in the professional summary, to highlight your experiences rather than using buzzwords like detail oriented or ambitious. These words I'm trying to use less and less because everyone is using it. So you have to find ways of standing out most of the time. Mistake three is what we discussed, buzzwords. So how can you get rid of some buzzwords that should not necessarily be added, or maybe just limiting it down from 20 buzzwords to 5 buzzwords. With buzzwords, I think the main thing is you're trying to convert using like driven results oriented team player into actually actionable things that recruiters can see. More than one page, we'll discuss this as well, but if your resume is 4 pages or 5 pages, and trust me, we have seen also this at Integrify when we have given CV workshops, but still CVs that we receive are sometimes that long. I mean, ask yourself, if your CV is 4 pages, is the recruiter really going to read it? Or is the recruiter going to take a second look and reject your CV? And consider that these are for junior and entry-level positions. I'm not trying to discourage you, but I'm just trying to tell you that the volume of junior and entry-level developers are a lot more than senior developers. So even from a recruiting perspective, recruiters are trying to sell many positions for higher ups, so for senior positions, for senior developers. But you can imagine for junior and entry-level positions, they're going to be a lot more strict when it comes to hiring. So you really want to be concise in your wording, in how you present yourself, also in your resume, which is why we discuss all these things about LinkedIn, about having a brand, about networking, about having a really good resume. So now we can go into the more structural part of the resume. Transferable skills. So here we discuss that you may have any of these 3 backgrounds, right? Or maybe it could be a mixture of these two components. So number A, or letter A, is an experienced professional with a background in another field who is switching to software web development. So we see students who come to Integrify who have had maybe from 2 to 5 years of experience in maybe as a mainframe developer or as a cloud developer, but maybe somewhere else in India or in Brazil or somewhere else, not in Europe. And they come to Integrify to build connections and just to upskill themselves on a few technologies like React and Node.js. So you may belong into that category. You may be a young professional with limited years of experience, so you're still going through a bachelor's program or a master's program, completing your computer science degree or your software engineering degree. So you may also belong in that category, or you may come from a completely different background. So, from a service sector background, from a financial background, from an advocacy background, so very different background, but you want to change your career into web development. So we respect all those three backgrounds. We respect. To be quite statistical, but also like present some real facts. We see that people who are coming from a very different background, they tend to work harder. And imagine what happens when you tend to work harder and when you dedicate your sort of life not to Integrify, but you dedicate your life to coding. You see results faster. And that is true because they're networking more, they're basically reading more books, reading the sessions, asking questions from instructors, using more of the time for the career coach. So at least in my year at Integrify, I've seen that more happen. People with no background of tech, they are usually the ones that land the jobs first, right? And you may not expect that when I tell when I started this presenting about the backgrounds in this slide. You might have expected that, hey, maybe if someone who has an experience in coding, they might get a job first, or someone who is here who worked 2 to 5 years, they might get a job first. But typically that's not the case. So I'm not demotivating the other other two backgrounds. All of them, like even A and B, if you come from those backgrounds, to be honest, you are already at an advantage in a way. But just want to say that, still stick to the courses, use the resources at Integrify, communicate with everyone here to make yourself really stand out. But coming back entirely to the CV, you need to think about, okay, am I a mixture of A and B, or B and C, or A and C? And how can I, sorry, you can't be of A and C, A and B, or B and C. But yeah, you can't be, you have to know what kind of a background have you had. Is it 2+ years of experience in coding? Is it 3+ years of experience in financial, accounting firm, and then you're changing to software development, or is it in marketing? What kind of background you have? You need to put that down in bullet points and really understand that, okay, this is how my resume is going to look like, and I know how to present myself. You can start this from your LinkedIn, and then you can move to your resume. Nice. We can go on to the next parts. These are some technology examples. So we talked about skills. So technological skills from a full stack perspective, what you should be adding, based on these type of different categories. So front-end development, back-end development, mobile development, database management, testing, and DevOps. So don't again be stressed if you're not familiar, if you haven't used these technologies. You will be learning most of these things at Integrify. And for those of you who have already learned these, make sure they are already in your CV. Then it's about selected projects. As I said, projects are incredibly important as well. Going for entry-level roles, it is very integral to put a description, put the tech stack that you've used, putting the link and kind of the ambition of the project. Like, what was the objective of the entire project? Did you do it for your personal development, or did you do it for a company or a client that you were working for? And ideally, you want to put a demo or a repository to the project as well. So these are some basic guidelines on your resume that should be happening. And for new people who are joining this week, I think it's a good way of knowing, okay, these are the things I will consider to put on my new resume that I make. And some bullet points. So resumes are very, when it comes to work experiences and writing down descriptions or accomplishments or achievements, here are some things that we have already made from a full stack perspective. So for some of you who don't know what to put as your experience when you have joined Integrify, where do I put it? Do I put it in education or work experience? Put it in work experience, put it as a full stack developer or full stack developer trainee. Ideally, we recommend that. And then you can use these 5 different bullet points. You can use all these 5, or you can use maybe up to 3 or 4 of those. Most of the students still use 5. So, they quite explain well with the technologies that you're using, what kind of web-based applications you're using, and so on. I guess the only thing that can be improved from here, because I'm super critical, is like, how many projects are you creating? With how many members are you working? So just adding that metrics. You remember that Raya put at the beginning of the presentation, like, what kind of metrics or numbers are you actually putting to back your evidence or accomplishments here? So those things can be maybe added once you get these. But we will be sharing the slides to these, so you will have access to whatever we are presenting right now. No need to worry about putting these in your resume at the moment. Example 3, this one I took from a student who kind of used her professional summary and put it in bullet points. So there are things that I like about this and things that I don't like. I will start with the things that I like. So it's nice that she has put, okay, she's put a paragraph about extensive background in quality operations and CS, and working as a full stack developer at Integrify, worked as an operations supervisor at Gorillas, whatever, right? And she goes to show at the bottom like how many years of experiences she has had in what and what. That's very nice. Like for me as a recruiter, it shows that, okay, I know exactly what I'm going to read in the resume when I go to the work experience sections. What I think can be improved is I think with the first and last bullet points, they can definitely be merged together. So this person could have easily said 3+ years of experience in operations, quality, and customer service, and now transitioning my career into full stack coding or full stack development by learning new technologies like merge stack and other technologies. That would mean that she would save a couple of bullet points at least. And it makes it a bit concise when this person has done that. And then of course she can go on to say that 1+ experience in software development, working as a front-end developer at ITD Well Technologies, saves another bullet point. So it's good to put your professional summary in bullet points, because you can really highlight what the hiring manager is going to see in your work experience. So you want to make it as easy, as readable as possible. We can go to the next slide. Even more about work experiences and bullet points. So I guess this one is more from a marketing perspective. And you can see that while the example on the left hand side isn't too bad, you like it's still quite good. Streamlined processes to increase efficiency and enhance quality, implemented comprehensive social media plan, oversaw execution of in-house advertising strategy. While all those make sense, they're not detailed enough, right? I, as a recruiter, or even as a manager, if you see that CV, you don't really know what are the capabilities of that person. So because it's not specific, it's not detailed, we don't know what's the potential of this person. And on the right hand side, it's a much better detailed example backed by numbers. Managed a team of 20 that consistently did this and this and this. What was the improvement rates? How many monthly websites did you add? 50,000 in how many months? 3 months. So it's very, very specific, and some of those things are not well highlighted in the left hand column. So when you guys make your CV, I want you guys to think about those things. I don't want to see only words and descriptions, but I really want you to think about, okay, when I worked, even if it's for a customer service position, even if you probably, let's say if you only had a waiter or like a restaurant worker experience, if that's the only experience you've had, you can still say you're contributed to 5,000 euros per week, because you did that, right? You were actually serving maybe 100 customers per day, and you were contributing directly or indirectly to over 5,000 euros per week or something. And that shows value, because you don't need to necessarily describe. You've already accomplished that, and it will say a lot more on your CV, rather than just putting it quite boringly that, okay, I just oversaw customers at this restaurant. So you want to be quite specific. One key tool for all of you, and some of you may already know about this, is Jobalytics. So if you type in here Jobalytics, basically you don't need to type it in caps lock, but you will find the first thing that comes up is a resume keyword analyzer. And I will just put this in the chat as well here. So Jobalytics, and you can add it as a Chrome extension. Before this, it was add to Chrome. You can click add to Chrome, and if you're using Chrome, hopefully you are using Chrome, something else, but still it should be quite easy, and you will see it in your extensions. I actually have a few extensions, but Jobalytics is here, and you can pin it. Once you've pinned it, it will come, you will see it visible over here. So now I want to show you some little bit of magic from Jobalytics. So let's search up a front-end position, or well, full stack position, and let's go for this one. Full stack developer who brings us success to the aviation industry. Let it load, and you can see that the oh no, I clicked the wrong one. You can see that the main here, it will ask you to upload your resume. So the current resume that is uploaded, I will basically upload the resume CV that I showed, and we will have a chance to go through what are the keywords that really match based on the description and requirements. So I'm going to go through here, demo CV. I have to go down here and let your CV upload. So once your CV has uploaded, you can click analyze job description, and it actually gives you a nice overview as to what kind of percentage overall did your CV match with the job description that is given. Now, this is really good for understanding how many keywords you should have and what keywords potentially are missing. So from the CV that we showed you, the demo CV for that person who's already in a job, these are the keywords that are possibly missing. So Node.js, front end, DevOps, whatever, Agile, Angular, collaboration. So you can see at least half of them, they are easily implementable, and that would mean that the resume match would increase to 50% or 60%. Ideally, you should be aiming for 60%, but the Jobalytics and even some other resume analyzers they're not as precise. So basically what I mean to say is that if you have Node.js in your resume, unfortunately it's not going to show up because it's just Node.js here. It's all together. If you have front end with a dash, it's not going to show up. So these kind of things, you don't necessarily spend too much time scratching your hairs or brain cells. Don't just spend time wasting here, but just try to include most of the keywords like collaboration. Angular, I know, is a completely different framework, but Agile, to some extent, entrepreneurial. Maybe you were entrepreneurial at some point, but at least Git and Jira, these things you could be already adding to your CV. Let me just close this Loom thing that's just open here.
You wanted to double record.
Yeah, I want. It was so funny. But as you can see, things like full stack, TypeScript, things highlighted in green are seen, but things in red, they are not visible in the actual resume, which can easily be implemented, right? So DevOps, Angular, it depends if you've come across and actually learned it, but collaboration, Agile, these things can easily be implemented. And you can do these for different LinkedIn matches. So it will actually tell you what's the match, how it is looking like, and you can just click here and analyze the job description info. It would automatically give you what's the words that are missing. So quite nice, cool, quite a cool feature in our opinion, and you can try that for different job boards as well. So the CV that I used, once again, is the demo CV that I showed on the slide. So you can do this for your own CVs as well. The highest I personally got when I was like just kind of testing it with my own CV, going for like recruitment and HR roles, was like 75 or 80%. But then it really took some fine tuning, and it was only for that specific role. And when I tried to do it for other roles, it was only 50% or 60%. But even though that's already decent results. You also get to know what kind of skills are in demand and what kind of skills you maybe want to learn in addition to what we teach. I know that most of these things we will teach, like React and Node and JavaScript and continuous delivery, CI/CD, code review, all these things we will teach, but then additionally it will give you an idea like, okay, how do I learn agile practices? Do we teach these things? How can I extract these information from our instructors? Do we teach automated testing? Coming to us and being a bit curious. Do we actually teach these things or not? And you can go through a couple of roles and see, just here, like what are the required experiences here, and what are the preferred technical and professional expertise. Sometimes it might be a language barrier, and it's just unfortunate that those companies have put a really high stress on that language. I can't understand why they have, because you don't really need to know Swedish if you want to work especially as a junior full stack developer. But I guess it's more within the team and culture. They want you to communicate with your peers if you know Swedish. If you do know Swedish, great, fantastic. You have a little bit of advantage. But if you don't like overburden yourself, like, hey, there's not going to be any opportunities for you, but for me, that's not going to be the case. You will have lots of other opportunities to apply from.